Welcome to this episode of the Voices for Voices TV show and podcast. I'm your host, founder, and executive director of Voices for Voices, Justin Allen Hayes. Thank you for joining us for this episode. Whether this is your first episode or you've been with us since the beginning, we can't thank you enough for the love, the support, to continue on even when at times it gets hard to do that. But we're continuing on. We're going to be hitting 300 episodes, and I keep saying that because it reinforces in my mind that that's what we're doing. That's one of the big goals we have. But before we can get to 300, we have to get to 200 first. And so this episode may be episode 200, or it may be shortly after. And so if it is 200, it's kind of like a celebration. We made it. We accomplished a big goal. When we started from 0, 100 seemed like a lot. When we hit 100, 200 seems a lot. As we hit 200, 300 seems a lot. But we're going to do it. And it's not without your help and support wherever you are, whether you're watching, listening, checking out the captions, the transcript, the blogs. Our blogs are incredible. That is something that I don't believe I have shared very often. Yeah, if you go to voicesforvoices.org, what we do, you'll see blog as a choice. And we are doing let's put it this way. In 2025, we're doing much better at updating our blogs than we were in 2024 and any time prior. And so it helps us share in a different manner information about the episodes that we do, because everybody learns. Some listen, some watch, some read. Some find it easier to do one than the other, and sometimes I'll watch shows, and then other times I'll listen to them, and other times I might catch a blog or a post. And so by having just another avenue, we've found that it is helpful. And for us, that's what we're trying to be. We're trying to be as helpful as we can. And we're going to hit reaching those 3 billion people over the course of my lifetime and beyond. And in a previous episode, we talked about how more focused, intentional about playing music, whether it's at the house, whether it's with my good friend Control Chin with Hearts for Music and his orchestra, events that they do and collaborations that they do. It's been something I've just been very intentional about. Instead of being very standoffish about it, I have in 2025 been more, as I want to be going forward in any other year. I'm going to be more intentional and whenever I can, because everybody's pressed for time, and that's something. Playing the guitar, singing, call it that. When I do that, we've posted a couple of songs here in 2025 so far, and we just feel that that's a productive a little bit stress free of our times being spent than just going on to the next show, then the next show, the next show. Well, those times eventually come, but to spend a half hour, 20 minutes here and there isn't gonna derail any of, say, the core work that we're doing. So that's been a cool thing that I've been able to do internally. Just have that as a goal. Be more intentional about that, and so from time to time, you'll see a song pop up here and there. You'll see some posts pop up here and there of joining this group and that group for a night, for a few songs. And so whether the guitar is your thing, whether singing's your thing, find your thing or your things and find time for those. Even if it's just a couple of minutes, either whether it's every day or once a week or twice a week, you make up the schedule, you make up the cadence, whatever that is for you. And I think when you're as intentional as kicking off 2024, a quarter of the way through, 2025, a quarter of the way through, it's gone by that fast, that I think you'll find maybe new hobbies, new things that you like to do. You might find yourself a little less stressed. Maybe you won't. I don't know. I just know for me that the guitar is something that helps me. And it's not even that because I don't play flawlessly. So it's not even that I have to play flawless for it to do its thing in my mind and lower stress and kind of just bring out a little bit of the creative juices. It's just a matter of, hey, I'm trying something. I'm trying a new song. I'm trying a part of a song. Maybe I'm playing an old song that I learned way back when I was 16, 17 years old. Maybe it was something 10 years ago before I picked it up a year or two ago again that I play. I don't know. So I think having a little bit of structure in that you kind of have an idea of the things that help. And it might just be, maybe it's reading, maybe it's sitting in quiet, maybe it's listening to music, maybe it's going to the gym. Whatever those things are for you, that's the structure. So instead of these hundreds of things, you might pick one or two or three or five or, again, one. And so that's kind of your structure. Like, okay, so in my mind, whenever I get to a point where if it's something I have to be at a particular location, like if it's something when you're at home, so whenever you're at home, if you can go to either a different room, if it's something music related, if it's instrument related, where are those instruments at? Like for guitar, is that an acoustic guitar? Is it an electric guitar? Is it an acoustic electric guitar? And if it's anything electric, what type of, we're going to want some amplification. So a speaker that's going to help amplify the sound. And so if I have an electric guitar, but my amplifier is at a different location, well, then it's going to be a little bit more difficult. If it's just an acoustic guitar, as long as I have my go-to tuner, I tune the 6 strings, and then we go. Then we go learn a new song, play an old song, maybe record one, maybe not. But when we have things somewhat around us, if they're around us at all time, what I have found is sometimes they get to be, I would say, taken for granted a little bit, because if they're in the same room as you are or I am a majority of the time, we might say, oh, okay, well, I could go read that book. I could go do that crossword puzzle. I could go listen to some music or to a podcast, like the Voices for Voices podcast. And so that's happened before to me. And all this to say is just do what helps you, do what makes you happy. If you're feeling stressed, find those things. Maybe it's taking a nap. Nothing wrong with that. Our bodies need rest and relaxation to repair, the cells, the muscle fibers from day to day. And trust me, I like my sleep. You ask anybody in my family, Daddy, Justin, I like to sleep. So anytime I get a chance, sometimes I sleep too much, but I like my sleep. And so the guitar is that thing right now for me. In a day or two, in a month or two, in 6 months or so, that may turn out to be something else. But that's where I'm at right now. And so I felt like I wanted to share that. So do what you like, not what somebody else tells you to do. That can be very difficult, because what works for somebody else doesn't necessarily work for you or me. If somebody isn't right, we're all a little bit different, we're all individually. So there's going to be different attitudes and feelings, and mental illnesses or not mental illness, or there's a wide variety. And so if somebody, whether they're trying to help or not, whether they think they got you figured out or me figured out, whether they think this mental illness, things that I'm going through, that, well, you were doing good yesterday, or you were doing good all week, and then all of a sudden you just started using it as a crutch. You didn't care, you didn't try. And that's toxicity right there. Because I've had to learn to be much less judgmental, because who am I to judge anybody else? And while I strive towards that, sometimes I end up doing it. And so others, whether they're really close to us or whether they're not, again, they may be thinking they're helping, they may think they have you or me figured out. And it's not that I'm trying to be difficult or you're trying to be difficult. It's that nobody knows how anybody's feeling except themselves. I know how I'm feeling. You know how you're feeling. And we know from the mental side and internal that there's just not a day, a time that we reach where we're all of a sudden healed. Again, we can have good days and not so good days, and have more good days than not so good days. So to an outsider, they may feel, okay, well, Justin seems like he's doing good. So he's got that mental health, mental illness, these diagnoses all figured out. And as much as I would like that's just not the case. And I had to do a lot of thinking, a lot of swallowing my pride, my ego, to ask for help. So it's not something that I enjoy doing. I don't enjoy going in for blood work and have to be the person that has to go in like some side office to lay down while I'm doing the blood work, and I'm not even looking at it, and it takes me a half hour when it takes others, a minute or two. I don't like that. I just have learned to do more trusting of myself, of how I'm feeling. And since I've done that, it makes things a little bit easier, because I at least know some things that will help, and it will put the nurses, the doctors, they're doing the blood work in a better position, since they'll know, like, oh, okay, I need to be ready in case he blacks out, in case he passes out, and I have to have the smelling salts and all those things. Have the orange juice ready, and versus the nurse was telling me my last visit, because obviously I was sharing with him prior to, and then even afterwards, about, hey, I need I need to lay down, and it's not something I enjoy doing, but I know it'll help. And he mentioned, he goes, thanks for telling me. He had another patient at some point within like the last week or two that didn't tell him that, and they passed out cold, and they fell out of the chair, and so they had to go on the fly and figure it out. So they appreciated when I brought that up for me. So it made me feel good that I was sharing information that was going to help me, and in turn it also helped the other, the medical professional. And those are just things that we learn over time. And there's been a lot of things over the years where I've just tried to get through it. Just try to get through it. And I say, oh, I'm just grinding. I'm grinding. I'm grinding to get this project done. I'm grinding to get this episode filmed and put out to the world. So find something or some things that you like to do that are not as stressful. Kind of trust your body. Stick up for yourself. And that's hard to do. And if you have to decompress, go for a drive, go for a walk, to cool off, that's something that nobody should be ashamed to do. And recently, as we're kind of coming down to the last third of our episode here, we have had like a pretty cool last few days with one of our prior guests on the Voices for Voices TV show and podcast, and then the 2024 Voices for Voices award recipient. Her name, if you've been following us, Elliston Berry. We had her and her mom, Miss Anna, on 2 episodes last year. Then we headed down at the end of the year to present the award to Elliston. Had an award episode that you saw last December. Met her dad, who first responder. He's founder of Life Warrior United, trying to help people just like we are. And he's got that first responder background. And so we were able to put a couple episodes and talk with him, which was super cool to do that. And there might be some partnership opportunities with Voices for Voices and Life Warrior United. So that's just neat, just to find others that are trying to help people. Because at the end of the day, we can't take the money with us. We can't take things with us when we pass. That's just the fact of the matter. And no matter how famous certain people are, in 100, 200, 300 years, how are people going to be remembered? And there's very few that are really known for a long period of time. So that's what we're looking for. We're looking for notoriety only. To have things be only about me. Then when we're doing the wrong thing. But when we're doing things to help others, then we're taking our energy, and instead of saying, oh, I'm doing such a great job, I'm doing so awesome, instead of doing that, we're taking that energy and we're doing things, we're doing work with the intention to help as many people as possible. like us, helping 3 billion people over the course of my lifetime and beyond. We've talked about whether we hit that goal, whether we don't. If you've ever heard, leave things the same or better than when you left, than when you arrived. That's kind of the goal. Was like, okay, I can't take none of this with me, but I at least turned a corner, started going in a more positive direction, and I spent more of my energy helping people than just being self-centered, narcissistic, 24/7, 365. So as we rewind a little bit to Elliston, so you can learn more about her and her story, and maybe you learn more about her and her story within the last week or two. The day before the joint address to Congress that President Trump gave, Elliston was the First Lady Melania Trump's one of her guests at the speech. And so for all the, not only did President Trump mention her name and a little bit about her background and kind of what brought all them together with Senator Ted Cruz. And this isn't anything about one side of the aisle or the other, whether Republican, Democrat, Libertarian, Independent. She went through a pretty harrowing experience. So it was not fun and isn't fun. So she was the guest of Melania Trump, First Lady, for the joint address to Congress. And she was recognized by President Trump during his speech. And so that was like I think anybody, it's like a experience of a lifetime. And the day before, she was also with First Lady Melania Trump. They're having a round table about some of these deep fake AI photos that where somebody takes a perfectly decent photo, runs it through an AI program, and the photo comes back and the person's not wearing any clothes. And then it gets uploaded, and then it gets shared. And so that's the little bit of the Cliff Note version of Elliston's story. So the people who do that should be prosecuted, as well as big tech should do things on their end to take those down. That they shouldn't have to be, Taylor Swift or somebody's ultra wealthy for that to happen. It should just happen for everybody. If it happens, big tech should take it down. The person that does it gets held criminally responsible. And so that's called a Take It Down Act. The full Senate passed it. Once the House passes it, it'll go to President Trump's desk to sign, and it becomes federal law. So it was bad experience, but to have her at that speech and to watch, and I had no idea that she was going to be there. So I was just watching like a lot of people. So it was really cool. I was able to get a good screenshot and send it to her and her family, and I'm sure they had a lot more photos and videos and things sent to them. But it was just cool to be just a small part of being able to recognize her family with our organization, and then to have her being honored at the highest level. So it's pretty neat to be associated with Elliston and her mom is Anna, and her dad Mark. I mean, they're like the nicest people, and just can't be more happy for good things to happen. And so that's just one of many stories, like a really high profile story. Not all those stories are that high profile, but that's one that is pretty neat to see it unfold. So I went a little bit over 30 minutes this episode. Thanks for sticking with us. Give us a big thumbs up, like, share, subscribe. Tell your friends about the Voices for Voices TV show and podcast. Join us next time. Check out our catalog of over 190 episodes. And until next time, be a voice for you or somebody in need.